Christ's righteousness. So before the high priest could begin his work in the sanctuary, he had to first cover his sinfulness with Christ's righteousness. Next thing he would put on was a white linen robe, also signifying Christ's righteousness. Next was a blue linen tunic, to which were attached the bells and pomegranates. I'm not sure why there was pomegranates, but it does say that there was bells. So when the high priest was performing the daily service in the sanctuary, the people could hear him working. We'll talk about what happened on the Day of Atonement in a minute. Next came the multicolored ephod. There was all the colors of the gate: the red, the white, the blue, the purple, with the addition of gold. Gold represents purity. Also represents faith, because you know our faith is tried in the fire as fine gold. Also represents God's character. Next thing is the breastplate with the 12 stones, and each stone was one of the tribes of the children of Israel inscribed. And on either side was the Urim and the Thummim. Now, all we know from the Bible is that the Urim and the Thummim, they were a way of communication with God. Some Bible scholars believe that the answer was yes, the Urim would light up. If the answer was no, the Thummim would become dark. I think it'd be kind of cool if we had something like that today. Yeah. On each shoulder was an onyx stone, in which 6 tribes of Israel were inscribed on one, 6 on the other. This was to remind the high priest that he was, as their mediator, he was bearing the weight of their sins. Right? He was also representing Christ. Lastly, he would put on a white linen mitre or turban. And on his forehead was a gold plate, and written from left to right in Hebrew was holiness to the Lord. And then you guys can mention the Day of Atonement, they would tie a rope around his waist, and if they heard the bells stop ringing, that means he was dead, and so they would pull him out. According to the Bible, this is not true. If you read about the Day of Atonement in Leviticus, the only clothing he wore on the Day of Atonement was his white breeches, his white robe, and the white linen mitre. We have an article on, I think it's the director's computer. In the 13th century, there was a Jewish rabbi. He wrote a book called the Zohar. And in the book, he was giving a theory or hypothesizing what they might have done had the high priest died. Now, when Christ died, the veil was rent in two. That was signifying the need, that was the end of the need for sacrifices. They did not believe Christ was the Messiah, so they continued on with the sacrifices. They probably implemented this after then, but during the Mosaic days, they did not. During the first Day of Atonement, they did not do that. It was only to wear the white clothes, not the colored ones. I'm going to talk about the gold plate for a second. Now, what part of your brain is right here?
Cranium.
Yeah, that's your cranium. It's your whole brain. But what is right here behind your forehead?
Skull.
It's your frontal lobe, right, or your cerebral cortex. Now, what happens in this part of your mind? It's where you differentiate between right and wrong. Most of your thinking processes are there. It's like your conscience, right? This was to remind the high priest. Well, first of all, have you guys ever heard the saying, "By beholding you become changed"? Well, it makes sense, right? If you are constantly, filling your mind with evil thoughts, evil things, and everything, is that going to make you a better person? Of course not. I have a little cousin. He's about 10 years old right now, and when he was 2, his dad made the mistake of letting him play very violent video games. And now at 10 years old, he's one of the most violent kids I know. He actually said that he wants to kill some of his teachers because he hates them. He wants to kill his mommy because he hates her. He's filling his mind with bad things. And the high priest, this is to remind the high priest, he needs to keep his mind holy. Only needs to dwell on holy thoughts, because if he was representing Christ, he was their mediator. He was to be as close as Christ as possible, right? Alright, well, this concludes the tour. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Before you go, my friend Samuel's going to pass out a really quick survey. Just asking how you guys heard about us, what you thought of the tour. There's a place for comments. You can give us some constructive criticism.
How are you?
Yeah.
Great to see you.
But before you guys leave, does anyone have any questions about any part of the tour, any part of the sanctuary?